Buff Nation, welcome. It's great to be back after a couple weeks here for the Buff Blitz, baby. We got a lot of great items to catch you up on today. We'll be talking all the big recruiting news. We'll talk about the Colorado personnel moves. We'll talk about the college football playoff rankings. We'll talk about the craziness of the Big 12 because Colorado's still alive in the title hopes, baby. We will preview the Colorado Buffaloes against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. It's a full show, guys. So be sure, smash that like, get in the live chat, subscribe to both channels. With that being said, Russ, how are you doing today, man? It's great to see you. A wonderful week going into a very important matchup for our Buffaloes.
Yeah, I'm just, again, these bye weeks are killer. Just ready to go back to some football again, some CU football. Although it was very entertaining last weekend watching what unfolded in the Big 12. And so I got to say, it was still a fun weekend to be a Buffs fan.
Yes. And I just love the fact, man, that we're in the Big 12. This conference is so entertaining, man. I've enjoyed watching so many other games outside of just Buffs games in this conference. I couldn't say that about the Pac-12 most of the years we were in the Pac-12. Cannot say it. I like watching this conference, man. What did you think of those games, particularly Texas Tech and Iowa State, man? We can start there.
I mean, so entertaining. Any team can win on any Saturday. Like, I'm sure the Big 12 commissioner is just absolutely loving what he is seeing out of his conference right now. And to be honest, it's things that we've discussed in the past. Like, Colorado coming to the Big 12 was the smartest move we could have possibly done. Mm-hmm. Not only did the Big 12 give us more money than the other teams to come, but we also have a clear path to dominating the entire conference for years to come, so long as it sticks around and there isn't some super conference that eventually forms. But with that automatic path to the playoffs being tied to the championship game, with us having Coach Prime and this momentum that this team is going to continue to have in years to come, I think that's one, why Coach Prime is sticking around. It is a very, very good opportunity here to be the dominant force in the conference. Whereas the other conferences, you've got to deal with the other big blue bloods. Here, while there are teams similar to that, I just think that we have a chance to separate ourselves from them when it comes to recruiting, simply because of who Coach Prime is. And so that is why I think, watching this weekend, watching what happened, how quickly we are now back in the conversation for the Big 12 championship just shows how important that move really was for the team and what it's going to eventually lead to here in the future for CU football.
No doubt about it. You're right. This is the start of something special. I believe that too, Russ. And it's so much fun to be a part of, to watch every single week. And I think that the better record that we finish with, I think that the better we'll be able to build for next year as well. Man, let's get into the recruiting news, man. You've been the one keeping me up to date with everything that's going on starting from this weekend. I mean, break it down for me, man. What kind of momentum have we seen over this past week with potential recruits coming here to Boulder, baby?
So a couple things. I have heard from somebody that has a little bit of connection that we probably will not be seeing any massive high school recruiting classes as far as size goes. They said even as Coach Prime moves forward with developing the team, he is not going to believe in packing his scholarships full with developmental players that have the potential to leave in the portal. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what he wants to focus on is 10 to 15 guys that are going to come in day one and have an impact on this program so that they know that they're a big part of it. And then the rest of it is going to continue to be portal. But when it comes to where we're at right now, we're getting close to that 15 mark. Okay. We're at 10 right now with a couple others on the fence. But the big one, obviously, is Julian Lewis. And I think once that kind of occurs, which I think, as you discussed this week, as I pointed out, it's looking more and more again like the steam for Colorado is picking up. Of course, we had a couple more things. The tweet that you covered in your video, where there were plenty of Indiana fans saying, there is no way that Julian Lewis is not coming. That guy's a liar. Well, now all the national media have picked it up, and they have not quoted that guy. Okay. They've said their own sources have confirmed that Julian Lewis is not going to Indiana this weekend and has canceled his visit. And then today we find out from some USC insiders that Lincoln Riley has again picked up his recruiting efforts for Husan Longstreet. So that just tells me that it's shaping up. The dominoes are falling. The only team that is not being affected by any of this is Colorado, which tells me that I think Julian Lewis will be a Buff when it's all said and done. And as a result of that, I think we will see a couple of players come, not necessarily from USC. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but I think we might see a couple of bigger time flips. We are at least going to get, I think, outside of Julian Lewis, one shocking flip that we are not going to, it's Coach Prime, the Travis Hunter flip that came out of nowhere, the Jordan Seaton flip that came out of nowhere. I think the Julian Lewis one has been picking up steam for way too long to be kind of that surprise. I think we've got one more surprise up our sleeve. Who that is, I have no idea. And to Brady, while I agree, and I thought that was the way we were going to trend, I'm just letting you know that that's not what's going to be happening.
Oh, there's a lot to dissect in process there. But I want to ask you, Russ, about Julian Lewis's connections right now to CU. There's a lot of them. Probably some that, if you're just tuning in to the Buff Blitz for the first time, maybe, that you're not familiar with. Break it down for me. Why do you feel like this is his destiny to be a Buff?
So there's been a lot of things that have lined up. For those of you that don't have the timeline, like Dave said, first off, obviously, the big one, which I think it came to light a lot later in the process, but the fact is that one of Julian players' favorite players of all time happens to be Cordell Stewart. It's the reason why he wears the number 10. Okay, for those of you not realizing it, but Cordell Stewart is a legend when it comes to CU football. He's the best quarterback we've ever had. Let's be honest. He is the best quarterback that CU has ever had up until probably Shedeur Sanders. Yeah. He's about to break all those things and be the best quarterback and highest drafted and all that. So yeah, that's one thing. The bigger one, and the one that's really impactful that I don't think people realize, is Julian Lewis has been having a camera crew follow him around for the last 8 years. Some ridiculous thing from when he was super young and starting to come on the scene as a quarterback phenom. And the director and head of that documentary crew is Scotty McKnight, the Colorado wide receiver. And so when Julian Lewis first posted his announcement of the offer from Colorado, it was a picture of Scotty McKnight. So we just continue with the dominoes. Obviously, then Coach Prime's relationship with Julian Lewis's dad. In more recent months, Julian Lewis's relationship with Shedeur and Deion Jr., Bucky, he was on that podcast with them, which, by the way, is the most awkward podcast I've ever seen in my life because they couldn't say anything. So I do love the little tits and, bits that they kind of threw in there. But, if I'm being honest, it's just kind of crazy how all of this has happened and what's lined up with this. The fact that Julian Lewis showed up at the Cincinnati game last week after now canceling the trip to Indiana just tells me he is serious about Colorado. Colorado's serious about him. And with the way that USC football is going right now, they kind of just put Julian Lewis in the laps of the Colorado Buffaloes.
And I also want to connect I believe, right, that Julian Lewis is now training with Shedeur's quarterback coach and Cam Ward's quarterback coach, QB Select. Is that, like, official, or
I
has
don't
that
think
just
it
been
is. No, I
okay,
think he just has a little bit of small ties because the quarterback scene that he's on, QB Select is usually a quarterback coach at those camps and things. So Julian Lewis has worked with him. We've seen it via pictures. I don't know if that relationship's any higher, but the point is, if he comes, like, Select QB will be his quarterback coach.
yeah.
That's just a given. He'll probably train a lot with Shedeur, with Cam Ward, with those guys, once the season's over, wherever they go to train. So I think it's lining up. The stars are aligning. Everything's looking good on this end. If I'm a Colorado fan at this point, I would not worry. Julian Lewis will be a buff when everything is said and done.
Mhm, mhm. And I wanna touch on Indiana here really quick, and this segue does work, Russ. Give me 1 second, but, guys, shout out to Eric Boggs of the Ohio Podcast. He's who also runs the College Huddle, who I'm now a part of, on their website, collegehuddle.com. Over 74, I think 75 college football podcasts. It's amazing. But anyways, I just got off his show. We did a recording. The episode's coming out tomorrow talking about Colorado, but we were talking a little bit about Indiana at the
Yep.
end, off air, because I had to correct myself after my live stream yesterday. Kurt Signetti's buyout, if fired, is $17 million. He's not getting fired. He's doing a fantastic job. His buyout, if hired by another team, is only $6 million. He's making $3.5 million right now. And we were talking, and Eric says he said that he thinks that there's a very good chance that he's either moving on to another Big Ten team or possibly an SEC opening if it opens up. And again, maybe that has something to do with it as well. But I think, again, how you've pointed out, USC, they're moving on. Again, getting in touch with other quarterback recruits. He's canceled now on Indiana twice this season,
Yep.
visiting. Colorado's the only one not moving when it comes to this. And that is something to keep in mind. I really do feel like we got a really good shot here. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I think that's been the big thing. We talked about it this summer when we talked about Julian Lewis is the fact that Colorado is staring this down and almost playing chicken is showing their commitment to Julian Lewis and his father. They're like, you are the only high school quarterback at this point that we want. We don't want anyone else. If you decide at the last minute you don't want to come to us, fine, we'll go to the portal. That's another option because that's not something that needs a full run up to. And so I think, and I honestly do believe that I bet you that Julian Lewis and his family are seeing this happen and seeing the way that the teams are kind of playing around and seeing that Coach Prime doesn't play. What he says is gospel. What he says is the truth. He does not lie. Okay. I really swear I have gone back through interviews and different things, even back in Jackson. Coach Prime tells it like it is, and then he follows up his word. Okay. We go back to his first interview with 60 Minutes when he said, if a Power 4 school comes calling, I will be taking that job. Okay. He did that. His first 60 Minutes interview here in Colorado, they asked him, you going to the NFL? No, I am not going to the NFL. Guys, he's not going to go to the NFL. That does not work for what he's trying to do. He is not the type of coach that is an NFL coach. Okay. He has no need to make that money. He has no need to have that fame. He already has it. There is literally no reason for him to go coach at the NFL except for the fact that he can coach his kids, which I think is just not what he wants to do at this point. I don't think he wants to be, helicopter dad the rest of his life with his kids. And so all of that comes to the fact that in recruiting, he always tells the family how it is. It's also why he has told kids to kick rocks when they've been like, hey, how much money am I getting? See yourself out the door. I don't care if you're the best player in the country. What more is important to me is the football aspect of things. And if you perform and be the football player I know you can be, the NIL take care of itself. There's no reason for all of that. So all of this stuff shows just how a good recruiter Coach Prime is and how he can connect with not only the player, but even more importantly, the parents of said players.
Yeah. Yep. And I think looking back at last fall, I think there is a lot of similarity right now with Julian Lewis's recruitment from Colorado with how we handled Jordan Seaton last year. You really didn't see us go after other blue chip tackles. There was another, man, I'm trying to remember his name, another 4-star tackle that we were going after that was not a day one type of guy that I believe ended up going to Oregon, but that wasn't the intense recruitment that Jordan Seaton was. It was very clear that he was kind of the crown jewel of who they were going after last year with all recruits. And I very much want to echo what you're saying, Russ, is that it just seems like that same energy is with Julian Lewis, which is like, hey, we're going after you. There's nobody else that we want to come here out of this year's class.
And to another point on the most recent comment there about Smack Entertainment and the money for Julian Lewis and all that, I don't think money is going to be the deciding factor of where he goes. From the sounds of it, from everybody in the recruiting world has said, every team has pretty much gotten to where they need to be to make Julian Lewis and his camp happy. There is no like bidding war. He's not saying, the things that some of the other recruits are, which is, I'm going to leverage this for more money over here, cough, cough, Baldwin, what's happening right now with Indiana, which I'm almost positive you decommit from there. You get crystal balled to Colorado and all of a sudden you're back to Indiana. Indiana came calling with a bag of money, and you're probably going back to that. Hey, I can't blame him. I will never blame a kid going for money. I get that. The fact should be that you want the best chance to get to the NFL. But if I'm being honest right now, Indiana is looking like a good program so long as Curt Cignetti is there. Now, could they follow Curt Cignetti wherever he goes? Probably. That's probably what would happen if he does leave. But, I mean, Colorado is Colorado. Okay. We're the more and more Coach Prime does this, the more and more he's going to be known for what his recruiting style is. The kids will know he's only going to go after kids that fit that style. And, that's just the way that it's going to go. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I do want to ask you this question, because this was a nice question brought up here by Micah. Well, not necessarily a question, but I think it's worth talking about. The OC has to be staying at CU for him to come in regards to Pat Shurmur. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I don't think so. I think that, again, Prime has proven, in my opinion, that he gets these coordinator hires more right more often than wrong, like going back to his time at Jackson State as well. But I have started to wonder a little bit. You have started to see some of these bottom level NFL teams starting to blow out their offensive staffs again. I don't think there's really anything, that we can take too concretely at this point, because these head coaches might be fired as well. But again, I do think that I don't know what Pat Shurmur wants. I want Pat Shurmur to return. I think continuity with the staff is always helpful in helping take another step as a program and build towards that. But I do wonder if he wants to be back in the NFL. We've seen coordinators follow a top draft pick like Shedeur in the past, such as Pep Hamilton and Andrew Luck coming over from Stanford, where he was quarterbacks coach for the Colts and then eventually offensive coordinator. I wonder if Pat Shurmur wants to do that. And but I don't know. But I think the biggest thing right now is that, like, Coach Prime is here. I don't know if I'm going to put too much stock in Pat Shurmur making a difference on this recruiting class.
I think the one thing is it's not a negative. Okay. His NFL experience is not a negative. Okay. That's going to be the important part of this. I think that's what a lot of people even said that when Pat Shurmur got hired, they were like, okay, we're not going to get a quarterback. Like Juju's not going to want to come play for Pat Shurmur. But what we found out is Pat Shurmur is a competent college football coach. And I
Yeah.
loved his comments this week when asked about what is it like coaching college instead of the NFL. And honestly, that was the comment that I probably pointed to the most, that I think he might stick around. I told some other people, because the fact is, he said, game planning and scheming for the college game is a lot easier than the NFL game. There's way too many variables in the NFL game for me not to scheme for them, whereas college is just pretty much straight up. It's a lot easier, it's a
Yeah.
lot more simple. To me, that kind of explains why I think that he's finding some decent success with Colorado right now, and the offense is doing just fine with what they have going on. So I truly do think that he might be in it for a little bit longer of a haul. He's had the long NFL career. I mean, he
Mhm.
bounced around. He's been a head coach, for heaven's sake, in the NFL. Okay. And it didn't go well. So to say that he's not going to, jump ship at the first opportunity, I just don't see that happening for him either. The thing I would probably see before that would be Coach Prime and him separating, because Coach Prime has just said, you need to move on. But
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to bolt for some NFL job at this point, because honestly, I don't know NFL teams are going to come calling for him. There's a lot of younger, more up and coming OCs that I think would get the call before him. And so I think he's going to settle in here in Boulder. He enjoys the lifestyle. He has the connections to Colorado. We can't forget that. Like, that's why he enjoyed his time at the Broncos. So he has reasons to stay here. He does not necessarily have reasons to leave. So I think we're going to get some consistency and have Shurmur for a little bit, so long as the offense is working. But as we know, Coach Prime will not stick with something if it's not working.
Yeah.
Okay. He's done it every year. This is the first time I feel like it's really clicking. So I could see him sticking around.
Well, that I think is the ideal scenario, no doubt about it. Before Russ, we transition to some other Buffs topics. I do want to show you here. You got $20 sent to your channel. Thanks
Oh,
from
that a boy.
Technically T. He's saying, caught what you were going through on the last stream. Prayers up, and know the Discord crews got you.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Also, real quick, to anybody that does watch my channel, I appreciate all the outpouring of love and support on the channel, whether it was in the comments. And if you guys are wondering kind of what's going on, feel free to go check out my last live stream on Sunday. I spent the first, 15, 20 minutes discussing kind of just some life stuff, because I believe in, sharing life with people on social media in these kind of spaces, to let people know that, we aren't just these like people who get to talk and only have great things happen. Bad things happen to everybody. So it's not a big deal, but I appreciate it. I appreciate you a lot here with the comment. Appreciate the Discord crew. And hey, he's got a really nice YouTube channel, by the way.
Yes.
You guys should go check it out, because he does some amazing tech things. I love tech channels, and yeah, that's some good stuff.
Man, I love it. Thanks again, Technically T. Always good to see you in here, man. But you want to talk tech, or you want to talk college football playoff rankings? Do you got anything you need to get off your chest with the CFP rankings?
Well, before we do that, real quick, I want you to pull up Gennaro in the comments, because this is something that just happened like an hour and a half ago. Um, I do not trust any YouTuber, including myself, when it comes to breaking news. Okay. Unless they are connected to the program in some way, I'm just not going to listen to it, mostly because if they do have somebody, and I know some insiders, I don't share the information that I get from them. And that's the biggest thing is Coach Prime and his crew. If you have some kind of inside information within that, if you tell that information to the world, you are going to be blackballed and blacklisted from that program so quick. So, not to call out the YouTube channel in question, but I just don't think it's a good look if it's true, but I also think it's also easy to just throw it out there. And then when it doesn't happen, just to say, oh, well, my sources said that something changed at the last minute. He's a high schooler. He's going to change his mind, because I've heard that so many times with people saying that so and so is going to sign. I have inside information. Like when Dave and I say that Juju Lewis is signing, we literally have no information like that confirms that. We are just talking as fans and reading the tea leaves to say,
Mhm.
hey, I think this is probably happening.
Yeah.
So just be wary with that when it comes to the breaking news stuff. That's not what this fandom needs to be. That's not what the YouTube channels need to be. We're not like, we're not on three. We're not these professional journalists that literally our only job is to seek out sources and stuff. That's just not what this is supposed to be. So be wary of that. I just wanted to bring that up because I saw the comments and I don't want other people being like, asking him, well, oh, where is this and what happened? Like, I'm sure the video is going to go viral because it has the clickbait title and immediately goes into it. But, that's just where I'm at on that.
Yeah, I'll probably just wait around until we see a visit pop up. That's usually only when I start to do videos based on potential recruits a little bit more
Yeah.
seriously, as if they're offered, and I find that very interesting because we don't offer a lot of kids. And then, of course, if they have a visit scheduled, so I'll wait to comment on that until hopefully we see some news progress with that because five-star offensive tackle, five-star anybody, it's got my interest peaked, So I got to get this off my chest, man, with the
Yep.
college football playoff rankings, man. I don't know if you felt this way. I got no issue with Colorado being number 20 right now. Got no issue with it at all. It's nice to see us up there a little bit in the AP poll, and a little bit farther ahead than in the AP poll. I actually don't even have an issue with Kansas State right now being at 19 because they beat us in the head-to-head. What I got an issue with, Russ, I don't know if you picked up on this, but man, there's some East Coast bias with this, man. How, 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 how can you have Boise State closer to BYU than BYU closer to Miami when BYU has had a much tougher schedule, in my opinion, in a better conference? The Big 12, man, they're getting snubbed. They're getting looked over for a very poor ACC. And I don't think that does favors for the Buffs. This is why I think like getting to the tech stuff later on, I think we have to win not only this game, but we have to win it in convincing fashion in order to continue to rise up the ranks in the college football playoff rankings. What say you?
So a couple things that I've noticed, especially in the rankings and the CFP rankings. The other team that I saw that I'm like, that's confusing to me. I kind of get it, but I also kind of don't. Would be Indiana. I think they keep getting underrated because of who they are, even though they're undefeated in the Big Ten. I get that they have somewhat of an easy schedule. I do. I understand that. But to me, there are a lot of teams out there that deserve to be up there based on their overall record. And that's just me. I agree with what you first said too, is like, who cares about the rankings if we're being honest? Like, it means nothing right now. The only time it's going to mean something is in 5 weeks, when the season's over and they need to rank and put where people are going to go. But, actual rankings are not going to need to be that important. This is just something that the media gets to throw together. But we've also got to say, we're used to that West Coast bias. If you are a Colorado sports fan, we have been biased against since the dawn of sports in the Denver metro area when the Broncos first came. The NFL hated when the Broncos would get in a Super Bowl. Um, all of that stuff. Look at all the MVPs that, we finally got attention for, and people are still angry about that with Colorado athletes. The West Coast bias when it comes to the media is, it's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this is just something to pay attention to. BYU undefeated, ranked number 9. Miami undefeated, ranked number 4. Are they number 4? I think number 4, number 5. Um, I'm scared. I would love to see the Big 12 get 2 teams in there. I think our path, if we don't win the conference, we can get in there at 10-2, but we need to BCS style this thing, blow teams out, run out the score, make this show, this product undeniable compared to a 3-loss SEC team or maybe a Big Ten team that's got a couple losses with, maybe not necessarily being as exciting. Again, BYU has beaten 13th ranked SMU right now. They've beaten 19th ranked KSU right now, and they can barely crack the top 10. Right now, the committee is overlooking the Big 12. So I don't want to play negative Nancy too much, but this does not bode well for regardless of who it is. Of course, we want it to be Colorado, but for the Big 12, getting added respect when it comes to getting multiple teams into the playoff.
That's going to be the tough part. And I think part of that, and I wonder if this is part of it, is because the fact that at the beginning of the season, the pre-rankings of the conference and how we were supposed to do have kind of been flipped on themselves. I mean, last week, Colorado and Cincinnati faced off at 5-2 each. If you go look at the combined record of all of Colorado's opponents, the last time I checked, we had one of the top 15 toughest schedules in college football. Hey, everybody, guess what? North Dakota State is still undefeated with us being their only loss, okay? They also, as of today, by the way, I just wanted to throw this out there, they are now being rumored to be one of the teams added to the Mountain West, which if they jumped up to Division I football, I think that would show everybody how much of a better team they are than people give them credit for. But the schedule is just, it is what it is, but it is a lot harder than people think. And so that biasness against the Big 12 of not wanting it to be successful and all this, I don't know what's up with that. I don't know what's happening, but that's just, where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing unfolds, but guys, continue to pray to the football gods for chaos. Chaos, as long as it doesn't involve the Buffs, really benefits us and can get us into prime position to make the playoffs, no doubt about it. I want to give a shout out to Big Dog. We got to connect for another dog and day,
What
baby.
up?
Thank you so much. Shall we get into this Texas Tech matchup, baby? I'm quite excited for it.
Yeah, no, this is going to be an exciting matchup. Okay, I think we're going to get something similar to the TCU game last year, just because they have a powerhouse offense. Texas Tech has a really good offense. The part that's going to be the difference maker, I think, just going already ahead to that, is going to be our defense. Texas Tech has one of the worst defenses in the country statistically. Okay. I know that there's people online talking about how they got a great defensive tackle. Oh, they've got this great player. And on tape, they look great. Statistically, they're getting killed. Okay. They're getting killed. They're allowing a ton of points. They allowed 60 points to Baylor, Dave. 60 points to Baylor.
Incredible. He lit up that Baylor quarterback. He lit up that defense more than and he was completing all sorts of dimes on our defense, man. I was like, what's going on? But yeah, he absolutely obliterated the that Tech secondary, man.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane what I'm hearing from some people. Like, we can be a little confident, guys, because again, guess what? We don't have to play the game. We're not the ones playing the game. That's the team. They're the ones that can't get overconfident. But us over here, we can see this matchup and start licking our chops that, hey, we're going to see our offense feast. And Shedeur Sanders, I think, is going to have another I think this is the game that maybe finally gets him in the Heisman conversation. That is my prediction, because let's be honest, Dave, he should be in the conversation. Every stat that you see him have is either comparable or better than Cam Ward. And nobody is talking about Shedeur Sanders in the Heisman conversation.
What did we say coming into the preseason or coming into the season during preseason? It's like, what would it take to have both Shedeur and Travis as Heisman finalists. And I think we said like it would take like 10 wins. It would take 10 wins to get there. I
Yeah.
think, man, right now we're in striking distance of that. I think that, hey, it's got to happen at some point to see Shedeur get into this top 4 discussion. And man, I love that. I love that narrative. I love that the idea that, he could turn the corner in that category with a strong performance against Texas Tech. Big Noon's there this weekend. They're fired up about it. The whole country's going to be watching. And I mean, Cam Ward, I think, is totally deserving to be in this Heisman conversation. But again, guys, I'm just not one. Leave the G5 feel good stories for movies. I don't care about it. I think there are a handful of powerful running backs that could be putting up the numbers that Ashton Genty has been putting up, especially stat padding in second halves of games where they're up by 4 or 5 scores at certain points. So I do want to see Travis and Shedeur there selfishly. And hopefully we can gain some momentum against Tech this weekend in that.
Yeah, when it comes to the Heisman race, it's just kind of frustrating. And I think part of the problem too, Dave, is the fact that nobody has done what Travis Hunter is doing. So the fact that Ashton Genty is even being compared to Travis is just, for me, a little frustrating, because you hear any of the like ex-NFL guys talk, and all of them are saying that they're amazed at what Travis Hunter can do. They don't think that could have been done, and yet here he is. I know that he's on pace to beat Barry Sanders' record, but there have been plenty of running backs that have done similar things at better programs in bigger games than what Ashton Genty is doing. Because you're right, last week was a complete stat pat, or patting the stats, because
stat pad,
he should not have been in that game. They should have benched him, but they're just caring about the record and the Heisman Trophy.
We sat Travis on the sidelines for the whole second half against Arizona.
And he's been out injured for 2 games and still putting up the stats that he's doing.
He's still a leading receiver in the Big 12. Okay, yeah. Come on, man. No, when the College Huddle has me on their Heisman finalist collaboration stream with all the representative schools, you better believe, man, I got some evidence for some of the other guys there, especially, I assume right now that Ashton Genty is going to be one of those guys, but we'll just have to see. But let's see Shedeur ball out. Do you I don't even know what the over under right now for total points in this game is right now, Russ. Maybe offhand. I think Colorado's a favorite by like 5 points or so, but I'm expecting this game to have some scoring in it. Well, what about you?
I agree. So here's the couple of things. It looks like the line right now is 3.5 Colorado, and it looks like the total is listed at 62.5.
Oh,
If
okay.
that's the case, I would be taking the over on that all day, every day. But that's just me. Again, we are not a betting podcast.
Do not take our betting advice. Do not do that. No. Do not.
But yeah, so I mean, it's going to be a high scoring game. I think the difference is our defense and our defensive backs. They have come on so strong the last few weeks that I think that this is their chance to shut down all the critics and tell people in the country that Colorado has the best secondary in the country. Because Texas Tech has such a powerful offense. They are putting up so many yards, so many points. And guess what? A majority of it is through the air.
Yeah.
They're not putting up big running numbers. They're very similar to us when it comes to running. So Colorado runs the ball right now 41% of the time. Okay.
Texas Better Tech, than expected coming into the season.
Yes. Texas Tech, a little bit more. They run it about 46% of the time. Okay. And it looks like yards per game, they're about 58 at 164 yards per game. And we're at 130th, of course. So I don't think the run game is going to matter as much for them. But again, I think that it's going to give our DBs a chance to really show what they can do on a big time stage and against a big time offense.
Yeah, I just think, man, this could be like the funnest game, most entertaining game of the season. I thought that we were possibly going to get that with UCF. UCF did not show up, or if they showed up, man, we just put the BTA baby. We brought out that belt. But yeah, this Texas Tech offense, I think that Cincinnati, they could score points, right? But Texas Tech has a little bit more firepower on their offense. They have, I think, one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the Big 12 with Baron Morton. I was hoping that we would have had the opportunity to play their true freshman. I think a guy, man, I'm forgetting his name right now, but he looked really good in the limited time that I saw him play a couple weeks ago due to Morton's injury. And Taj Brooks. I think Taj Brooks is going to be the key for our defense right now. I'll take our secondary up against any other receiving attack in the Big 12, no doubt about it. I think that plays to our strengths. What I don't want to see is Taj Brooks putting the team on his back like we saw DJ Giddens do against our defense coming off of that bye week a few weeks ago. I think the priority needs to be shutting him down and making Texas Tech one-dimensional.
Yeah, that's going to be the key down the stretch with every team. Because again, we have got that game still coming up with Ollie Gordon. I know he's had a bad season at the end. We're going to get a chance at them. You never can take that for granted. The rest of the teams are going to be kind of the same. I think this is really our last. Would you say this is our last team that's a pretty good pass offense, or at least the pass offense is better than their run offense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. I've looked at a few of the teams. I know with Kansas, you got Jaden Daniels. With Oklahoma State, obviously, you got Ollie Gordon. I wasn't really sure about next week's matchup with Utah, but then again, they don't have a quarterback because Cam Rising is an old man that can't stay in a game. But so that's going to be the key is let's just keep doing what we've been doing. Play the same way that we played against UCF. Play the same way that we played against Cincinnati. Let our DBs feast, because I will say that last week's game, 2 weeks ago against Cincinnati, that defensive back performance was perfect.
Dude, everybody balled out, man.
The amount of pass breakups those guys were doing, they're not getting the picks. They weren't bad throws. They were just great defensive plays by those guys on the back end. DJ McKinney, Preston Hodge had a number. I mean, Travis had 4 pass defenses.
Yes.
4 in a single game. Like, that's why he's a Heisman favorite, is because he's putting up great receiver numbers, but then he's defending 4 passes on the other side of the ball. Like, that is just absolutely ridiculous. So I'm hoping that carries over to this week, and that is the difference maker in this game.
Wonderfully said, man. Wonderfully said. Now, I do want to ask you about something in the news this week. I think it's rather exciting, and I'm intrigued about it. I am very intrigued about it, but I think, we don't put injury reports out, CU that is, like Texas Tech. That was kind of weird seeing like an official injury report come out. I'm like, wow.
What is that? What?
I definitely wish they would mandate it like the NFL, but if they're not, it's definitely in the Buffs' advantage to never put one out, no doubt about it. But kind of the news is, the talk around is that we're kind of dealing with a fair amount of injuries on the defensive line, looking a little thin right there right now. I know that it's been speculated that Ryan Buell is hurt. We have possibly I can't remember if Tarian Carr is done for the season.
He's done for the season. That was reported.
Barnes.
So we did get, this week we did get a little bit of an update from Prime, not an official out, but in the presser, he talked about the defensive line and who all's out. The big thing for me is, one, at least we have Chidozie Nwankwo. That would be the biggest loss if we lost him up front. He's probably going to have to pick up the slack and play a little bit more. He's not going to come off the field because of what's going on. The Tyler Brown stuff, the big thing with that is I trust Coach Prime that if Tyler Brown is in the game at defensive line, that Coach Prime and the staff saw something.
Yeah.
Because he's made big position changes for players before and they have worked out. I mean, we could honestly say right now, look at Savell Smalls. Like, as a receiving tight end, he's not great. But he's our number one blocking option on the offensive side, and he started his career as a defensive lineman.
He was like a fourth string edge for us last year. Like,
Yeah.
tight end's definitely his position.
Yeah. So I kind of trust this. I'm thinking part of the reason they did this, and I know they're saying he's going two ways. I think a couple different things. One, I think Tyler Brown's coming back next year. I think that's already a given. He hasn't done the things that some people thought he would on the offensive line. And two, I think part of him changing over is they believe he can do enough on that to hold his own. And there's more of a chance for him to play on the defensive line instead of the offensive line with the changes that occurred.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know if I think I saw maybe, that Shane Cokes might be battling an injury or something like that. I
Yeah,
don't know if
that
there's any
too.
truth to that because, I mean, we saw him play last game. So, yeah, I'm very interested to see how Tyler Brown's going to perform. And I think that right now we have 4 guards that have been rotating consistently over the last handful of games. I think we'll continue to see that. But I think we've gotten good play out of Mayers, out of Kareem Harden, out of Khalil Benson, all at the guard position. So maybe this kind of makes him a little bit more expendable to spend some snaps on the defensive line right now, where it seems like we're in need of a little bit of depth, a little bit of help, and maybe he can spell for both lines right now. I think that would be really interesting, but he's one of the bigger guys that we have on the defensive line. I think he's somewhere between 310 and 320 pounds. So that puts him right up there, the same size as Anquan Barnes.
Well, and let's not forget that the strength staff and the coaching staff know that Tyler Brown is one of the strongest players on the team. That was literally done this year during their offseason training that was talked about. So if you take one of your biggest, strongest players and tell them to go, hey, be a block just absorber and similar to like Chidoze and just, take on those blocks and let our edges feast, I think he can do that. I think he can at least do that job up the middle if he needs to.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just very interested. My hope is like I think it can be a good thing. Again, you see guys switch positions all the time in college. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Don't give a damn bringing up Trevor Woods, even though that made me laugh. But to my point here, I don't know if safety was going to work either on this team, which is what kind of brought the transition in its first place. There's only so much that you can do. I do wonder, how Tyler Brown's how's the technique going to be and all of that. We'll have to see, but I'm hoping we get a chance to see him line up on the defensive side. It's definitely going to be something to watch. You can't question his work ethic, so
No.
why not give it a shot?
And let's not forget who's coaching the defensive line. If there's anybody that can get somebody up to speed, it is Warren Sapp and Damian Lewis, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Chairman A. Thank you for the cup of coffee. Always do appreciate it. And y'all go subscribe to Russ's channel as well over the Buff Splits. I'll give or over at Buffs News Weekly. Links in the description. Come on now. I got to help out my man Russ. But thank you so much, Chairman, for the super chat. He's saying Tyler Brown reminds me of that kid from CSU, Mahoon last year. If he works at the craft, he has the strength. If we school on the first drive on tech, we're good. Yeah, it's going to be important for us to get out to a hot start, like we did against UCF. It was the first drive was kind of a mess, but we made up for it with an amazing Preston Hodge interception. And then after that, we were rolling. Let's just do that one drive earlier, right?
Well, the last 2 weeks, we've scored on our first drive the last 2 weeks. And I still don't know why Cincinnati took the ball to start the game. That was not smart. I don't know why the week before they onside kicked it and gave us a short field to score a touchdown. Hey,
And then they decide to kick 55-yard field goals, whatnot, when they start the game out with an onside kick.
Texas Tech, please do something dumb to start the game. Please. What's the saying, Dave? F around and find out. That's happened 2 weeks in a row where teams effed around and found out from CU's offense.
Yeah. Let's hope there's kind of been a lot of like a lot of times last year, I felt like, our coaching staff got in the way of things with the game management. Credit to Coach Prime, the staff. We've had barely any of that this year. Like, there's just not a lot to critique on the game management side, which I think hopefully this year is highlighting to a lot of fans just how rare that is just in general in college football, because we have seen so many coaches playing us get in the way of their own teams, really set their teams back, man. And this is something, again, where I feel like we've seen improvement with the players. We've seen improvement with the staff. I think going into a rowdy environment in Lubbock, it's going to be important. Of course, you don't want to give the home team hope. Arizona, we were their homecoming. They were hyped up. They were going to show us that they have the best quarterback in the Big 12, and he is 5'10". He's 5'10", but poor guy couldn't see over that line, and the game was over before halftime. That's the type of intensity and focus we need to come out with against Texas Tech, is with that intention, not just to win, but crush the dreams, crush the hope of our opponent, and really spoil what is going to be a very special day for Texas Tech. This might be the first time that they've hosted Big Noon in their history.
And I said this on my last live stream when I talked about Tech a little bit. Everything is working out in Colorado's favor. We have an afternoon game in Texas in the month of November where it's not. I mean, Dave, what's the temperature like over there?
Man, right now it's been in like 70s, 80s.
Yeah, in Colorado, they're canceling school right now.
Yeah, I saw you guys got snow. That's the one thing I don't miss having moved, is just the random snow. Snow. But
so I mean, my point is we're going away from home at the right time. Being in Texas, the team really loves that. They love that ability to do that. We're coming off of a bye week, everybody. Now, some people have said, well, we came off a bye week with Kansas State and we didn't look good. The thing people have got to remember, Kansas State was also coming off of a bye week that week. They did not have a game the same weekend that we did. This week, Texas Tech just had one of their toughest games in a very long time, where they eked out a win. And now they've got to play Colorado, who is coming off of a bye week and 2 weeks to prepare for them. There is no excuse this Saturday. There is no excuse for Colorado. Okay. I don't care. Okay. Maybe the only excuse would be the I word that I'm not even going to utter out loud because I don't even want to jinx us about that. But as long as everybody plays Saturday that's supposed to play and plays the whole game, there is no reason, no excuse why we don't win this game. And I agree with what a lot of people in the comments are saying. We should win pretty easily and handily if we're really taking a look at both teams objectively.
Yes, I think so. Allison's pointing out a wonderful stat here. We've been great on the road since Nebraska. And we've won by an average of 27. So that's CSU, UCF, and Arizona. This team has now experienced not once, not twice, but 3 times going on the road and dominating. They know they can do that. They have played in a louder environment in Lincoln, and I think we can all agree that that has made them better, having experienced that week 2. They now know what it takes to prepare and to be ready to go into a rowdy environment on the road and succeed and dominate. And again, like, we are in control of our destiny for the most part. Um, it's just incredibly important if this team is going to, I think like right now, Russ, like we very could reach, the top of our potential with the team this year. And that is just really exciting to think about and to talk about with 4 games remaining left. But in order to do that, we have to see Colorado take another step in the last third of this season, take another step of playing better football. And if they take that step, I think that they can make a very convincing case that no matter what happens with the conference tiebreakers, whatnot, that they belong among the best in the college football playoff.
Yeah, it's shaping up that way. What I would really like to see from this team this week, the one thing that I don't think we've seen yet, we've tried, but I really want to see a step on the throat of an opponent. And what I mean when I say that, for those of you who don't know, is I want to see us, Karate Kid style, finish them off, get them while they're down, run up the score a little bit, and just absolutely demolish any hope of that game.
Yes.
Last week, I thought it was finally the time that it was going to happen. And what happened? Our offense kind of sputtered at the end. And, Cincinnati got some points back on the board to make that game look closer than it was. And then you go back to, what was it? Was it the Arizona game or was it the UCF game that we tried running up the score at the end when it was clearly over, but we weren't able to get anything going? Like, we could have ran the ball out and time would have expired, but instead we were trying to pass for more touchdowns.
We did that against CSU, and then we were still throwing for touchdowns with Ryan Staub in there in the fourth quarter against Arizona.
Okay. I think it was UCF, though, was the one that I'm thinking of, where at the end they were, but yeah, every game because that's who Prime is. That's
Yeah.
who Prime is. So I really hope that we get to see kind of that even more dominant win where the team just cruises and never slows down once during the entire game.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that would be my hope. Like, let's see this team truly learned. Like, I want to give a shout out to Colin Moore. He brought this up with the coaching staff. He's like, I feel like with, certain things like preparing for road environments, preparing for games at different times, like, they have kind of figured out as the season has gone on by trial and error, kind of what works, what doesn't. And I think we've learned a lot from our first bye week that we had. We came out looking sluggish, not playing our best ball, still almost won, like coming out and not having a good performance. And I think that there's a lot to learn, and the team knows as well, like, how we prepared in that bye week for Kansas State was not good enough. And what have we seen from this team? Every time they face disappointment, every time they have a setback, this team truly does learn from it and become better from their setbacks. So I'm expecting them to come out hungry, chomping at the bit, because they know what's on the line here, and a ton is on the line, not just for the program, in general, but there's a lot on the line for the players. And I'm not talking about just like Shedeur or Travis. I mean, if we're able to come out and have a truly dominating performance, and then these last 3 weeks we're able to handle our business as well, this is what makes the difference in a certain amount of players on the team being on the bubble for East-West Shrine game, for the Senior Bowl, for more serious NFL draft looks, them getting that. A lot of people can get fed and paid over the next month because of their performance, and now it's their time to go and grab it by the horns, man.
Yeah, I mean, to mirror what you're saying as far as the adjustments that the team has been making, I absolutely love that analogy and look, because, yeah, what's the biggest saying, which is, you learn more in a loss. You learn more from losing than you do in winning. And if you're a good team, you take any loss that you get and you learn from it and you figure things out. We did it after Nebraska. We did it with all our late games, not scoring many points. We got to forget about that. That's been a thing that's been going on for a while. And yet, look what happened last week. Late game at home, just like all those other late games at home. And was that game really close? No, the game was over in, the first half of the game. It was over. So what I like to see this week, Travis practiced yesterday. That is the first Tuesday of the season that Travis practiced. That tells me two things. One, the team is taking this very seriously and they're making sure that these kids are prepared and not just, on a break the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Two, that tells me that Travis Hunter is at 100%. And I mean truly 100% again. Having 2 bye weeks has benefited him the most out of anybody on this team because of what he's been dealing with. So for me to hear that we're getting a 100% Travis Hunter this Saturday at Texas Tech, that is the biggest reason why we are going to have a chance to win every game from here on out, is simply when you have a healthy Travis Hunter on both sides of the ball.
No doubt about it. Russ, do we want to talk about our predictions, our players of the game?
Let's do it.
Score predictions.
Let's do it. I guess I'll get us started on the offense. I'm gonna do something that I've done in the past, so I'm recycling a player, but I really think that this player is poised to have a massively breakout game. He's had some breakout games, but I think it's going to be his big coming out party because of it being on Big Noon, and because he is literally open every single play, and that is LeJohntay Wester. Watch the all 22 of every game this season, and I swear that guy is open 90% of the time. The reason he's not putting up the stats is because he's not always the first or second read when it comes to the route trees, and we're succeeding, right? So the fact is that Shedeur sees the first route. If it's open, he's throwing it. If he sees the second route open, he's throwing it. Okay. He is not going to purposely, look this way. The fact is all the receivers are getting open, but LeJohntay is open every single time. I would like to see him ball out on the national stage here with the Big Noon game. And I think that he is going to probably 150, 2 touchdowns if I'm thinking of a good breakout performance. So I think he'll do similar to what Travis did last game against Cincinnati.
Now I'm sticking in the receiving core, and you gotta give it to Jimmy. This is dude, why is it doing that now? Now I look like Richard Nixon. Anyways, this is the game Jimmy scores. This has got to happen.
Yes.
Again, credit to Buff Nation for pointing out every other time a wide receiver has done this in college football and they have not had the touchdown taken away. Jimmy, he's going to be hungry to put on a show. Now is the time. Jimmy Horn, he's going to obliterate it. He's going to kill it. And he's going to be my offensive player of the game prediction. What about on the defensive side?
Real quick, too, I forgot about this. Allison brought up a great point. LeJohntay Wester, number 1 this week, wearing the new number 1 jersey. I think that's also going to play into him balling out for sure. On the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go with what we've been talking about. I'm going to go with the defensive backfield, and I'm going to go with a big game from Preston Hodge. I'm going to call it now. I think Hodge gets an interception, and so I think that Preston Hodge has a really good game on the back end for Colorado. And if he does, we're winning this game for sure.
I think on the defensive side, I've been thinking about a couple different players, but how I expect the game to go, I think Texas Tech is going to be trying to compete in a shootout with us. So our pass rushers are going to have to get home. And one pass rusher that I could see having an incredible game this week, in a sense, a coming out party, maybe the best game of his young career so far, Tajay McCoy. Um, he has been fantastic pass rushing off the edge. I could see him having a really nice game this game.
Yeah, that's a good one. I agree. I mean, when it comes to the defensive backs, they can't succeed if it isn't for the pass rush, and the pass rush can't succeed unless the defensive backs, cover their guys initially. So I think that's a good one as well. Okay, Dave, what is your score prediction for Saturday in Texas?
Give me so I said earlier on Monday, I think CU will win by 10. That's
Okay.
kind of my prediction. So I'm not predicting a blowout, but I do want to see that. Don't get me wrong, okay? That's what I do want to see. But I am going to give Tech a little credit, man. I think that they're a tough team to play against, and they've gotten better throughout the season, just like we have. Because at the beginning of the season, I said, man, I ain't worried about Tech. They almost lost to an FCS team. But they're a different team, just like we're not the same team that played North Dakota State. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. Why don't I just go crazy right now? I'll go 45-35 Buffs.
Okay. I'm close to that, not as high, but I believe I'm going to say 42-28.
Okay.
42-28. That is mine. I was pretty close to Blue Protege's prediction there of 45-28. But I think, 42 is a good number. I think we're kind of on the same page. I don't think it's going to be a full blowout because I do think that there probably might be some trash time touchdowns or points that occur to kind of, minimize the gap. It seems to always happen. Now, again, I would love to see that not happen this week and really just put, belt to Texas. But we'll see come Saturday night. Yeah, if you guys are in the comments, chats, make sure you guys let us know what is your prediction for Saturday here as we kind of wind down the show tonight.
Yes. I did want to answer this question here from Nicole Carter. Any concerns about injury report? I mean, we forgot to talk about how it looks like Dan Hayes went and had surgery, so I have
Yeah.
no idea if he's going to be back this year or not. Do any of our injuries on the defensive front, I guess primarily, worry you at all?
It would have worried me last year. If we're talking about this year, we talked about it. The defensive line has the depth that we didn't have previously. We talked about how you could rotate 4 different players in at any position on that line and you would get similar outcomes. Now, can we afford any more injuries? No. And like I said, the fact that we have Chidoze on the line still and he's not out injured, that's going to be a big factor. If he was out, I would feel a little bit differently where we're starting to now get a little thinner. But I truly am not too worried about it just yet, especially because Deion's been out for a while. Torian Carter has been in and out for a while. Like when he plays, don't get me wrong, he looks good. So I do feel bad that he is done now for the season. All the other injuries that we have there. I'm glad that we have who we do. And when you have BJ Green and Sam Okunlola and Tajay McCoy,
Arden Walker.
Arden Walker now coming on, like we are going to be fine. But again, it does come down to if it continues happening, yes, we will be in trouble eventually.
I'll say if Shane Cokes doesn't suit up, I am going to be a little bit more nervous in our ability to clog up those run holes. If I remember correctly, I had RC Maxfield on the show, Texas Tech YouTuber. Go check him out on the Back to 12 podcast. He talked about how they have had more success running outside than inside. So hopefully none of the injuries there, play a big factor in that. But Shane Cokes, he's got the same grades right now as Jose Wonkwo in terms of the defense, run defense. So he has been an underrated, really staple of this run defense for us. And yeah, I just hope that he can play. But right now, I don't like. You're assuming he's going to play, right? Right.
I don't know. That one sounded like he was iffy too this week. So I could see, Shane potentially not playing this week. Hey, let's not forget the secret weapon that's probably going to play this week, Dave, that didn't play last week. Keaton Wade on the defensive line
Oh,
is
that's right.
probably going to be playing this week because there's only what, 4 games left? Are we
Did
5
he play
games?
last week? I'm trying to remember.
No,
I
he
think
did
he did
not. He did not play last week.
against Cincinnati.
Uh-uh.
So he can play.
He can play up to 3 games down the stretch.
Okay. Well,
So I was thinking this game, Utah and Oklahoma State, maybe sit him for Kansas.
I keep him for Kansas
Yeah,
with Jane Daniels. Yeah, you could use that speed off the
that's
edge.
true. That's true.
Jalen
That's true.
Daniels.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
in Utah, if they don't have a quarterback, that may be the game to sit him. Because if we could shut down Ollie Gordon to be able to pin your ears back in that last game in such an important game with the atmosphere that there's going to be on that day, that Oklahoma State game is setting up to be something incredible. And I don't know if people saw this on Twitter. Again, I'm not a big rap person, but it looks like Young Thug is going to be
Yeah.
at one of the last
That's
home
exciting.
games. My guess would be that Oklahoma State game if I were him, because that's where you need to be.
Oh, what is Dreamer Spo that we're getting spammed with in the chat? I
I
don't
have
even know
no
what that
idea,
means.
but I'm assuming it might be a bot or something else.
All right. I got nothing left, Russ. I think I've said about enough about this matchup. And again, we need to win and we need to put up points like it's the BCS era, baby.
Dennis, real quick. I don't think Iowa State is as good of a team as their ranking and rating and record. So while it was an amazing win for Texas Tech, I think that we are more of a challenge for them than Iowa State is.
All right. Well, with that being said, Russ, where can we find you? What do you got coming up on the channel, man?
Yeah, so obviously I'm back. Buffs News Weekly on YouTube. Make sure you guys go subscribe. Saw quite an influx this week of subscribers, which I really do appreciate. We'll be streaming on Sunday, talking about college football, the CU Buffs game, how everything went. Win or lose, we'll be there. So if you want to hang out while you watch some NFL football Sunday afternoon, it's a fun time. We talk for roughly about an hour. Hang out. I love chatting with everybody in the chat, so make sure you guys jump in. And go follow me on Twitter, Buffs News Weekly as well. You'll get a lot of the breaking news. I'm on there all the time getting alerts and things. So if you want somebody to follow to get all that information, you can do that there. And yeah, of course, here every Wednesday. So I'm excited. We still got a couple weeks left. We're gonna have to figure out what we do, come bowl season. But excited to see what happens down this stretch and whether or not Colorado can go 10-2 for the season.
Yes. Russ, thanks again for your time. Hey, shout out to Technically T, shout out to Chairman A for the super chat, shout out to everybody. Join the discussion. This is always fun having a collective conversation about the Buffs. I'll be back. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to get together with Colin. I need to text him as well as I will be out of town this weekend, but I still will be streaming post game after the Buffs game with Let's Talk Buffs with my friend Carter over there. So y'all be sure to smash that bell for notifications, smash the like on the way out, leave us some love in the comments, and as always, go Buffs.